Welcome to VoiceThread. My name is Erin McCulley, and I'm the e-learning specialist. And I am very excited to do this presentation with Carolyn Porter, who is the chair of the business program. I've already gone past that slide, so can't even remember. So today, we have only a couple objectives. One is to participate in a VoiceThread activity, which is why you have computers. And then another one is to discuss how VoiceThread can be used in your classes. But to get to those, you're going to get to see a lot of really cool examples. Carolyn's going to talk about how she uses VoiceThread in her class, and she's also going to share with us, I think, some information about the training that you did with the mini grant from the SCC Foundation.
I haven't thought about that, but I will.
Well,
but yeah, I learned so much more about VoiceThread because I was lucky enough to get one of those foundation grants and take the class, and it was like a 2-week online class, and it was really helpful.
Yeah, very cool. So we'll start by just talking very briefly and describing what VoiceThread actually is. VoiceThread has been around for a while. It has gone through many iterations, as does any kind of Web 2.0 tool. So if you've heard of VoiceThread long ago, you may find that it's very different from the way it began. And it is a media player that has a highly interactive discussion space built right in. It can be used to create interactive lectures, or your students, if you wanted to have them create something, they have the ability to do so as well. So you can either create something from your end that they can participate in, and that will be something you'll be participating as students today, but they can also, if you want to go that next level up for your higher level classes, they can create their own. But it's kind of hard to figure out what VoiceThread is by reading a description. So we will show you first an example, and this is directly from Carolyn's class. Do you want to say anything about it before we start?
So many different ways you can use VoiceThread. And one is just to take a traditional discussion topic and repurpose it. And if you play this one, you can see the one commenter there. She's actually using the mobile app and riding in a car while she's making her comment. Yeah. So,
right.
Yeah, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Hello, yes, I have advocated businesses online, mainly through Facebook, and primarily by interacting with content that the business owners posted, or by sharing about that business.
Oh, good. I want to talk about her. And you can see that other students have responded to what she has to say, and you can see their comments threaded below. Those are the little lines that connect them. So that's all part of one discussion. And then the student below, Donna posted, and then there's threaded discussions below that, as well as every once in a while I pop in. So that's what a voice note looks like.
And I can see that you responded to one that she responded to, which was in a response to another one as well.
Yeah, so that's a nice feature that you can get something that feels more like a conversation going. So that's one way that you could use VoiceThread. Another example, come back.
Where did it go? Here we go.
Another example would be to have students do their own presentation. You might put up some slides that you want them to comment on, or a document or a prompt that you want them to comment on. Or these students each created their own PowerPoint and uploaded it. And so this student is doing sort of an oral presentation by narrating this PowerPoint. And for this class, I think this teacher had 6 or 7 different students, and all their presentations are on there one after another, so they can listen to one another's as well.
I just wanted to see. So you can hear her audio recording.
And so the teacher could set this up so that all the students in the class could see it, or it could be a private communication with the teacher, particularly for a class where, speaking, whether it's a language or it's an oral communications class, it's a great fit for having somebody orally present their work.
That is still the wrong, sorry. There we go.
So there are lots and lots and lots of examples of foreign language teachers using this. skip to the next slide.
Italian 101, Unit
Sorry.
So you can see the
Pronunciation 1, pronounce these words
pronunciation every
correctly.
time. Got to work on the pronunciation of that. But you can see that the Italian teacher has put the vocabulary words. So she could set this up so the students could hear each other, or the teacher can just listen to their pronunciations. I've seen other ones where the teacher says something and then the students each have to reply back. Serena, we'll get together lots of examples.
Great.
Some teachers have used VoiceThread as a way to respond with spoken comments to submitted work. I don't know whether the students posted this PDF or whether she posted the PDF and then gives the student a link to it. But as she starts to comment, is she commenting that?
Oh, I paused it.
I'm going to move her ahead just a little bit. You can see she's using the doodle feature so she can write on this as she's talking about the different sections. And so I've seen examples of that doodle tool is really handy because like for science and things like that, for an art appreciation class, you can actually point to different areas while you're commenting on it. You could even have a quiz where you said, students, identify these celestial bodies, and they'd have to draw arrows to each one as they name them. And if you want to get really fancy, this is one I did. Where you can bring in somebody from outside the class to have a discussion with the students. So you can skip that one and go to the next one. Yeah, there you go. So I asked Ben King from Bryson City Outdoors. I knew he did a lot of social media marketing. So he was kind enough to participate. So my students asked him questions, and then he got on VoiceThread and made responses to them. So I thought it was great. And I've seen other teachers do that. There was one assignment I looked at, a teacher, she had survivors of some of the Japanese internment camps in California on the West Coast. We're holding a discussion with her elementary school students. So they had written letters and questions, and those elderly people were on there responding to them. I thought it was a great way to bring history to life.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, so those are just a few examples.
Great. So in order for you to actually access the VoiceThread that we have, you will need to create an account. So we'd like to walk you through that process. It's very simple if you follow the directions, and this will bring in, you may be thinking about how your students need to be walked through this step. So the first thing we're going to do is go to voicethread.com. Relatively straightforward. You should see at the upper right-hand corner of that website, it will say, I think, sign up. Register. Now, back in the day, there was no option to sign in with Google, but I just checked it the other day and it looked like there was an option to sign in with Google. And if that's the case, I would recommend that you just use that option, because we were going to ask you to use your SCC credentials anyway to create your account. That way you'll never have to forget what you did to log in.
Sorry.
Okay. So for the folks who have access, you can create a comment. We're not forcing you to, but should you wish to, that is probably the best way to see what the student experience is like. You may choose to add a text comment. See if I can find real quick. I just skipped ahead to show this part. This area at the bottom of your of that screen, you have the option to click on ABC, which gives you text options. You could phone it in if you really wanted to. If you didn't have consistent internet access, that's an option. This is what I did. I think I just recorded my voice on that. You can also do a video one, and then if you happen to be in a car riding somewhere, perhaps you wanted to record it, using your photos or your camera on your phone, you would upload the file right here. So please choose a comment option and add a comment. We won't judge you if you want to make a video comment right here and right now. And then once someone else has put a comment in there,
Welcome to VoiceThread.
feel free to respond to theirs. It doesn't have to be relevant. You could just type something that doesn't, it's nonsense. But
Okay, I'm on there. To get to that, do I search, put something in here to find
look at
it?
you. No, just wherever it says my voice, we'll just delete that part. And let me go back to that slide for you.
I'll find it. I wrote it in my notes.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I wrote
Oh.
it in my notes.
And you're really good.
I'm not really good as we both know.
I see 2 comments here already. That's great news. Good work.
Mine's not showing yet. 4, 6, 5, 7. I just typed it.
That's okay.
Does it just not show up if it's typed?
No, it should. It should.
Do you have to refresh, or does that automatically
Good
refresh itself
question.
every so often?
We'll find out.
How do you make your comment?
Ah,
So.
look, I've got something here. Ah, so you were on the first page and I was just looking at the second page.
Right here.
Yeah, we're gonna do that in the second page.
So that's why it didn't show up on that page.
Yep.
Hey! And notice too, as you're interacting in the ones that Carolyn showed us earlier, the students can, I think you may address this later, but it's really nice to see a picture in there. We're not asking that you do that this time, but it's neat to be able to see the person that you're communicating with, especially if you're fully online, if you're teaching fully online.
This is different.
So what kind of items can you add within VoiceThread?
So what can I, like, in other words, this was a
Yeah.
PowerPoint that I uploaded, but
Okay. What can you
Carolyn,
upload?
Yeah, it's quite a wide variety of things. You know, you can do a PowerPoint, you can do a PDF, you could record a video of yourself and then have somebody else comment on that. There's a library there where you can pull in anything from Flickr or I think the New York Library. Anything that you want to upload from your desktop as far as images goes.
Can you upload videos?
Yes, you can upload videos too. So, I can show them the different versions.
Got it.
I think I did that.
So did it work? Well, look, there you are, KB. I'm sending click on it.
ooh, look at this. We got lots going on.
Cool. So yeah, different kinds of comments, like, so as Erin was saying, the students who email you and say, you know, I don't have a camera, I can't get my camera working, it's all horrible, and it's 11 o'clock on Friday night, my work's due at midnight. Little phone icon, you put it in your phone number, your phone will actually ring, and it'll give you a prompt, and you can just speak into your phone. There's
Very
also-
few apps.
Very good. There's also a mobile app, and so if you don't have ability to record video on your computer, the mobile app is great for that. So download that. The upload feature, I've used, there are a couple times I made videos that I edited. I did want to just make the video in VoiceThread, and you can upload that as well. That's also handy because you can download a comment from one VoiceThread and upload it somewhere else if you need to. So did everybody get a comment?
Yes.
Cool. Well, so a couple of tips were when you're ready to do your first one, and obviously Erin and I would be more than happy to hold your hand when you're ready to build your first one. That wasn't really our objective for today. It was just to get you interested. But tips for getting started. Don't start with your biggest class. But also start simple, you know, adapt an activity you already use. If you already have a discussion prompt that you might think might be a good fit for this, we'll try that for the first time. I found I really like things, I keep them pretty low stakes. I like things that are, when students get to give an individual personal comment on something, because they love to talk about themselves, we all do that. Things like that, so keep that assignment somewhat manageable. I turn off the text comment option, because we could do that in Blackboard. I want to hear their voices, and I offer extra credit the first time around if you do video. And there are some students who, they are just really upset about having to do the video at first. And they don't have to, they can do spoken. That's why I just do it as a little extra credit if you want to speak. As Erin mentioned, I do think it's so helpful to have the photo there, so you're looking at the person's picture. And Erin made a whole set of tutorials, and I'd be happy to share my little write-up of, okay, here's your first assignment, here are the tutorial links to tell you how to do it. And you can go right to Erin's tutorials and tell them how to do an avatar, how to set up an account. I like to make sure my instructions are pretty clear, of course, but I'll put them, I usually put them on the first slide, so like Erin did. I'll have an intro slide, a slide that says, here's what I want you to do, and I'll usually put a, hey, welcome to this project, here's what we're going to do this time, kind of comment on that slide, and then actually have them do something in the next one. I found it's important to limit the length, because some of my students are wonderfully long-winded, but if you get a big class, that can make a really long thing that you're listening to. And part of the problem with that is, I have to listen to it, but I'm worried my students won't listen to it at all. So we get everybody down to, a lot of mine are just a minute. I don't want to keep more than a minute. Obviously, if you're doing your personal presentation of your PowerPoint, it would be different. So I like to have that kind of comment. And on the first one, I thought it was helpful to make a model comment. Hey, here's how. Again, you can't use that dry old discussion topic where everybody's trying to answer the same question the best way. It has to be something that's individual and personalized. But, well, here's my take on, peace in the Middle East, or in a minute. Those are some tips for kind of getting started. And there's a few technical things to think about. It's not really our purpose to teach you how to do them today, but things I wanted you to know about. So you have the moderation option. So you can set it so that all the comments that come in are only visible to you until you turn them on. Okay? So that's a good thing if you're kind of wondering what's going to end up on there. Or maybe you have a slide, you want everybody to comment, but you just want to hear their presentation. You don't want to share it with other students. You have that option to moderate in that way. If you forget that you have a VoiceThread out there and the students might be commenting on it, they send you little email alerts saying someone has made a comment. And you can click on that link and go right there, and a digest every morning, which I found helpful because it's really, I think it's a lot more fun to go into these discussions and listen and kind of try to redirect them and add things to them. It's good to be involved in it. We just talked about all the sources for content that you can use to create your own VoiceThread. And once you've created it, if you like it, you want to use it next semester, there's an option to copy it over, and it automatically will delete all the student comments out, and so you have it ready to go again. So now, as we said, there are lots of options for students to comment, and most of the time everything works okay. Occasionally it doesn't. And of course that's always the trade-off with embracing technology, isn't it? It makes your teaching more fun, it's more interesting to the students. But when they're having technology issues and you can't figure it out, it's the worst. But I'm happy to report it's not that many times that I've run into that. You get people to update their browser, half the time that takes care of it. And there are other options for people. Erin's a great source for help. And then, of course, we have to turn to a VoiceThread at times. But it's pretty straightforward. And I think most of our students are tech savvy enough to do this. They can buy shoes online and they can do this.
Is that what you tell them?
It is, actually. Then you have some choices on how to reply to your students' comments and give them feedback. You can put a direct comment in there that just shows up right under the comment that they've made. Or you can do the threaded comment, which we looked at earlier, which links the replies together. Otherwise, the comments are coming in chronologically, other than your comment. And that's why you really want to encourage your students to make replies. Otherwise, you'll have a comment here, and way down here, somebody will say, hey, Zach, great comment. And they're talking about the first one that came in. right? So you want them to use those threaded replies. So you, the teacher, have the choice. You can make a direct comment, and you can reorder these comments too. That comes in right. Yeah, that's a good tip. You can reorder them so your first comment on there is not the best, but the third one is great. Move that one to the top so students play that as their example. But anyway, so you can make a direct comment, you can make a threaded comment, or you have the option as the instructor to make private comments. So you can actually leave spoken feedback, even on a voice thread that was visible to all the other students using that private comment. There's no shortcut for it. You're going to have Blackboard open on your other screen and put the points in there. Put feedback in there. If we have that enterprise edition, it can integrate into our LMS, so we get everybody hooked, and we can do that. And then I have a real simple rubric up here. Obviously, for each assignment, the rubric would be different, and I know that's small. I think Erin's going to make this available to you.
I will email the presentation to all of you, and then that way you can examine that to your heart's content.
But just and one tip I will add, on my first round, I had a line in there that says in that end, you speak in complete sentences with good grammar, and the students just all melted down. They were so anxious about how they were speaking that I ended up with a bunch of little robots reading things. And so that's not what we want. So scrap that. So much better, your model comment sets the tone, if appropriate, that this is conversational, and they'll be able to read conversational too.
Sorry.
So, Erin, what would you say about the survey that you did?
Right.
Students who participated in our pilot.
We did a pilot for this tool, and what we found was that the first thing is that it does take time for the instructor to implement the tool. And so it was a small pilot, but it became even smaller by the end of the first semester because we had maybe 3 people who were excited to use it, and then we ended up having one person, not Carolyn, but another instructor, only use it once in her course. Like she did it at the very beginning, and then life happens, teaching happens, and so she never ended up returning to it. So the data set is rather, we're not going to be publishing this as a study, but what's interesting is that we compared the results of the students' grades on discussion boards in one section of your class compared to their grades using VoiceThread instead. And this was all a learning process because I think this was the first semester that you had started using it.
Oh, yeah.
And we started with the grammar piece because that was something that Carolyn required of her discussion boards. If you respond, and then so something changed, it evolved as it went. What's interesting is that the students, for the most part, the response on the surveys was very, very positive. They really enjoyed, many of them said the negative was that they felt uncomfortable recording their voice, but that they enjoyed the level of community that they felt. They felt like a stronger sense of community in these online courses. Not to say that this couldn't be used in face-to-face instruction as well. It could be used as a homework,
Sure,
or flip the classroom kind of situation. But they were positive. It was just, there were tech glitches that they mentioned, and we just worked through those the best we can. And I think VoiceThread has just done that with crazy updates, so they're no longer relying on Flash, which was part of the issue. Not always, but sometimes the issue when using Flash-based technology, things don't always work. So, yeah, there's that.
Oh, and do you want to play?
I do.
Judy's comment? So it's on the very last
Got it.
10 slides. Why is it so long? Oh, I think this is one where I had like 3 things and they could choose which one to answer. Yeah, respond within 3 minutes.
I'm sure there's a faster way to do this. Okay, is this it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like this assignment. This is cool. For a person my age, 48, to be able to do something like this just boggles my mind. And it makes the discussion so much easier because I'm a lot better at talking than I am trying to write something. So I've really enjoyed this.
Unpaid student testimony. So we thought that was great. So yeah, for the most part, students have responded well to it. As a teacher, it's more work. It's a little bit more work than just running that whole discussion that you can skim through, but it kind of brings the whole thing to life. And that's kind of the point, right? So and it's made me more thoughtful about some of the discussions I have, because it's one thing when there's just I just want it to feel more personal and more, so in a way, it's good teaching to take it that next step, because it's a great place to force students to be reflective on something they've just learned. I've just read this, how does this apply to my life, and how will I use this in the future? And that way you get the individualized answers and people responding. And it's funny, some of the students have made like a funny comment, and then their peers will weigh in. My husband does that too. It just cracks me up, they become more human.
It sounds to me, when I review these voice threads, it seems much more reflective of a conversation that would happen in person versus the discussion board in Blackboard model, which Carolyn and I spoke a bit about this. If we in Blackboard choose the traditional model of discussion boards, it becomes write the answer to this and respond to 2 other peers. And there's generally a pretty much right answer, and all the students are trying to do the right answer without making it sound like they copied from someone else who's also put the right answer, and then they're not supposed to write "great job" or "I agree" of someone else's response, because the instructor has said, make sure it doesn't just say "I agree," but have it feels so forced, like a forced conversation that just does not seem to mimic those kinds of more organic conversations that happen in real life, and what I know that our face-to-face instructors, many of them really thrive on having those in their classrooms. So I think it's really neat to use a voice thread to create more of a sense of organic community, and I think the students feel that too, if their surveys are any indication.
That's the truth, right? I mean, some teachers use it right from the get-go. They'll have that first introductory activity is VoiceThread. That brave. I like to give them a week to all get into class, and then I spring it on. But some of the teachers will talk through their syllabus and things like that. Lots of opportunities to use it. So students, one thing I always think about when we add technology is accessibility. There is for folks that are visually challenged, there's like a VoiceThread. It's just like a view or something, but it's VoiceThread set up for people who are using screen readers. It gets more complicated for people with hearing issues. There is an option to upload your caption file to the stuff that you do, and then they mentioned, and I'm not an expert on this, but there's some programs that will do real-time captioning, and so that's not, haven't quite worked out all the details on that. I haven't run into that situation, so I haven't had to research it personally yet. But always something to be aware of is how all your students will respond to something like this. I can tell you a million more things. I think that's all we wanted to tell you.
So in that slide in the VoiceThread activity, the sample one, we asked how you might, or how folks at SCC might use VoiceThread, because I feel like I can think of many different ways that instructors who are not me could use VoiceThread. We saw the annotation option in there where you have a PDF uploaded and you're annotating and recording as you go. I think that's a really neat option. I do worry that it's kind of hard to see a whole 8.5 by 11 that's kind of squished up. But if you were able to perhaps separate out and do it in chunks, that might be a possibility. But are there things that you have thought of? I know, Jenny, you don't teach a class per se, and Tanya, I know you're the same. But I know you do a lot of training. So even though it says class, please feel free to share any thoughts that you might have about how you could use it. Anybody brave?
I can see why the students would really like it. I don't, the classes that I'm teaching right now are entry level. Some of them are not very computer savvy. Some of them, even if they were, I'm not sure they could figure this out. But yet, I'm going to start doing some online classes, and I think that would be helpful for that.
We had the other instructor involved in the pilot who got through one said that she felt like she had chosen the wrong class to start with because it was an entry level, I think it was a first semester entry class. So your first semester at SCC and you're figuring things out, and then there was this new thing, and there was some freaking out, and we do the best we can to kind of help folks with the tutorials. And I have thought perhaps maybe the next step in the support area is to maybe I can create a video that shows me clicking through, and here's how you blah, 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 blah. And so that would be something that would be a resource for an instructor to just pop into their course so that not everybody has to, don't reinvent the wheel if I invent it first, which I'll put that on my to-do list.
Some of my students, though, I have continuing ed students, and then I have the two different kinds. Some of them have not even graduated from high school. So
they'll be better at
this. You think?
Some of them, though, some of them.
That's true. That's true. They never cease to amaze me that, some of the ones that have the least education really do the best, and getting hooked up to something like this. But I think this is amazing. If I don't use it in those classes, I still just would like to know how to use it. And then, like I said, when I do online classes, I'm sure it's going to be very helpful. So.
Well, I guess started small.
Yeah.
I started with my social media marketing class with a dozen people. And so they were all second-year students, and obviously they're taking social media marketing, so they were tech savvy enough that it wasn't too big of a deal. But I've used it in personal finance, and I've used it in business ethics to good result, and I do have first year in those classes as well. I think it's important that first assignment be relatively low stakes, so that person who's freaking out just before the deadline knows that at most they're going to lose 10 points on this one. And then I can follow up and say, hey, you didn't complete this, or what can I help you do to get this stuff next time?
I look forward to at least presenting this to the students that I have now, just simply because a lot of them are not very tech savvy, but I think once they got involved in something like this, it would be, whoa, we can really do this. And I think it may just cause them to get more tech savvy, be more interested in it, but some of them are not in the least.
I'd like to think too that for folks who may not be comfortable speaking out in person in front of other people in class, they may be more comfortable sharing their opinion in this sort of asynchronous format, even if they're recording their voice. Maybe it helps if not their whole face or something. But I don't know that hasn't been borne out by our very small study, so I can't say for sure, but I'd like to think that is a benefit too.
Well, you do have the option to delete it and do it again. So it's not like you're one terrible comment with a dog that's crossing through the screen. But I do have students that are like, Aunt Bethany, here's my dog, and then she has
I think this might be less threatening than figuring out how to use Blackboard for something.
Yeah.
Because we're so fluid verbally as opposed to writing and expressing ourselves that way. Like that becomes a formalized, we have this sort of paradigm of what we think it's supposed to be, and we're supposed to be, and sometimes you just want a response and you want the thought to come through and not worry about that formal component. And so like for tutoring, because I do a lot of professional development online, this would allow my tutors to communicate with one another where, I mean, they're here at random times, they're never
Right.
here at the same time. So at least then they would be able to communicate with one another either about tutoring issues or like, I have this assignment and, you know, it would be a way, and then because it's there, they could go back and review it later on. So that would be another good thing about it.
I could see like having your slides, like maybe one slide say, what are some issues that are concerning for
Right.
you? Or, and I'm sure you have
Right.
different types of issues you see.
Right,
So you
yeah.
could make a slide for each of those, and then
Yeah.
if you get an email notification that that a comment has been made, can the students sign up to get those notifications?
I don't know, I don't think so.
But with such a small, I mean, I can send it out and be
You
like,
sure could,
hey, so-and-so has a great idea about blah.
Yeah.
So,
I had students I had in my class for several semesters, taking their time getting through. I'd never heard their voices. And so it was kind of cool to finally, put that voice to that person.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm kind of worried about with doing computer classes, is I really enjoy the one-on-one kind of, I mean, my classes are small. Right now, I only have 5 students, and they don't have any problem talking. They have absolutely none. I mean, I know things about those students that, that nobody else knows, but.
That's awesome.
Well, it is, it
That-
really
I
is,
mean,
and that's what I enjoy, that's what I
Yeah.
feed on, is just just back and forth, just to be able to know that. I always give them my cell phone number, which I was told not to ever do that, but I enjoy having them be able to get in touch with me, and I have them all on a group text, and, I can tell them anything, but, there are some that would really be interested in this, but yet there are some that I don't think could do that, so. I guess you pretty much have to have all or nothing, right, in a class. If you're gonna use this, everybody has to be able to participate.
And that's the way I've done it, and the folks that have trouble, I just keep reaching out to them. Come on, let's figure this out.
Okay.
If your students are on campus, or even if they're off campus, I can talk folks through. The issue for folks in this area is mostly internet connectivity. And like I said, there's that neat phone option. You have to get to the screen where you have the phone option, so you have to have some kind of connectivity to get there. But you just put your phone number in and it calls you. And you just speak your comment to the robot on the other end of the line, and then it uploads it for you. So if you choose to go down this path, know that there is support for them, and it doesn't have to necessarily be you, because you are already doing the support of your students, and you're already teaching them and providing the instruction.
Well, I'll be learning along with them.
Yes,
It's kind of like the
absolutely.
blind leading the blind.
Right. Well, and I think the other thing that, as Carolyn mentioned, in conjunction with what she said about starting very small, is if you only do maybe 2, they're probably not going to be that effective as if you could do a
The
few
whole-
more. I'm not saying once a week. Like that's you have to sit there and listen to all those comments too. Like your time, you have to manage your own time too. But having it become consistent, and especially if you have a program and you see those students multiple semesters, they're going to be pros by the time you get to the end. But just being aware of those hurdles at the beginning and telling them that they have a support system to help out. I can help. Sometimes I email the person who's my contact there directly to say, Carolyn's put in a help ticket. She has not gotten support yet. It's been over however many hours. We have students who need to learn, and and they, we get there somehow.
Well, I actually worked around that day because I just brought up the app on my phone and I made the comment responses on my phone. But that wasn't my first choice. I wanted my big screen.
Yeah. We've gotten there eventually, but
I envy your knowledge. I always thought of myself as computer savvy, and back in the old days when you had to go do DOS,
Yeah.
I mastered that. But it's like this stuff is so, it's amazing. It just really is.
I could not do what you do, if that makes you feel better. I could not teach what you teach. So with our powers combined.
Exactly,
We
that's
can work
great.
together.
So what's the largest number of students you've had in a class where you've used this? Because I'm just looking at this thinking, my class filled enrollment this semester. It sounds great, but holy smokes, time management.
I know. Well, I've used it in my personal finance class, and I usually have 25 or 30 in there. But I know, I use it for, like, there'll be one slide and one question, or there'll be 3 slides, and I'll say, pick one to respond to. And I limit the comments to a minute. And that's, a minute is a long time. It's plenty. But yeah, otherwise it can get a little unwieldy. And in some classes I use it almost every week, in others, I think in marketing we did like 5 of them scattered over the semester.
It seems like it'd be a fun thing to have kind of laced in the Blackboard, where the discussions were a little bit more like that within Blackboard. Because then it's one less thing the students have to go out and sign into this other thing. And just to have the video, audio, text option in Blackboard. It seems like it'd be kind of slick.
It would be pretty nice.
And integration is possible if at a certain level of getting a number of instructors involved, and I can't remember the last time I researched it, I can't remember what the dollar amount was and what the number of instructors were, but it started to seem like it was going to be challenging to get that many instructors on board, given it's a tool that does so much, but because it does so much, it takes more work on the instructor's side. Like, there are some tools that are, like, they do some cool stuff and it's really easy to use, and it doesn't take that, they're not hard to use. I'm not saying VoiceThread is hard, but it takes time. You have to create the PowerPoint before you even upload it. And you have to think, and it's normally not something that exists over here that you just drop over here. Like, you have to rethink your assignments, so it takes that amount of time in there. But integration is possible. I know that they do site-wide licenses and things like that. There is a pro license for individuals, but the pro license doesn't integrate, I don't think. I'll double check. And when I send you guys this PowerPoint, I will include that information. But yes, it would be nice. And I don't know how great the integration actually is. It could be that it's just embedded, and that's nice because they don't have to click out and log in and blah, 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 blah. Or it could be like superstar integrated. I don't even know what that would be like. But I know the grading would be nicer.
But manage the assignment that you make for the class that's the right fit. Massage that assignment down to something that accomplishes your purpose of creating community and engagement, but isn't something that's going to have you up listening to an hour's worth of comments to evaluate it every time.
Yeah, you might find it streamlines your assignments too, because it's a lot easier to skim a whole bunch of discussion board responses than it is to really take the time to listen deeply and think deeply about each one. So streamlining might be a good idea anyway. Any questions or other comments? Well, my goal is, if you're interested in using it, whenever that may be, because right now might be super busy for you, but we're here to help you, and I'm happy to sit down with you if you make an appointment and just say, okay, now talk me through the click-through. Where do I click? How do I do it? What do I upload? And I can talk you through that. And actually, that's really pretty easy. It's very, that part is really intuitive. I think much of it is intuitive, but I think the logging in is a real pain. So I'm happy to help with that stuff. Or if you want to brainstorm assignment ideas, or if you have a discussion board or a discussion you do in class and you say, I want this in VoiceThread, how do I change the assignment so that it functions? I'm happy to help with that. That's been like the most fun part of my job. And then we can pick on Carolyn if we need, if we need help, like,
Not everything does.
call her up and say, why doesn't this work? Do we have another slide? No, that's it.
We are done.
Is there a sweet spot for how many voice threads that you would use in a course? Because like you said, if you only use it once or twice, then students are going to say, I went through all that
Yeah.
headache to
Yeah.
sign up, and we only used it once.
Well, like I said, in
But
social
yet
media
every
marketing,
week
I
is-
used it 6 times, and, I probably used it about 8 times in my ethics class. And I use it more regularly in my personal finance class, because I had it kind of replace a journal that you reflected. So, this is kind of what you're up for.
I think 7 or 8 sounds good for a traditional 16-week class, because if you put one in at the beginning as an introductory activity, or you decide, no, I want them to have no VoiceThread for that first week.
Just get the book and get into Blackboard.
Or maybe the challenge the first week is simply to make their account. Can they make their account at all and get that done? And then every other week for the rest of the year or semester.
But I felt like the first semester, it was all kind of a little awkward. I was like, I don't know about all this. But I stuck with it, and it's gotten, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with it. I've refined my assignments to go with it. Oh, I'm not going to have, 3 slides to comment on with unlimited time. That's not going to. So, it's just, with anything you get more familiar with it, it's better.
And I think all of those tips and tricks that Carolyn's been through the fire for us so that we don't have to. So it's nice to have her suggestions as someone who's been using it for multiple semesters. I think that's very helpful. So that will come out to you. It'll also be posted on the professional development site, along with whatever we may have captured using
Were we recording?
Camtasia. I was recording on
Okay.
here,
'Cause I
so
was-
we've got the PowerPoint and some commentary.
Okay.
But I'm sorry that we didn't get on. But you were here, you don't need the video. But anyway, this will be available in multiple formats.